it with onions and spices, and you put it in the cavity of the turkey, and then you cook it inside the turkey, and then there will be potatoes. The juice from the cooking of the turkey will be made into a gravy or a sauce. There's usually vegetables. Now in my family the vegetables would be corn, turnip, peas, carrots, that type of thing. Other people will use other vegetables. Some people will make a salad. Usually then for dessert we have what is called a plum pudding or a Christmas pudding, which is very rich, which is made of flour and suet and raisins and dried fruits, and which is then we eat it with, it's boiled and boiled and boiled, and then we eat it with a sugar sauce. It's very rich. And that's basically what we eat for Christmas. Okay. Oh, and I forgot the olives. We always, when I was a child, that was the only time we ever had olives, was at Christmas.
Mm-hmm. And I read the story about, I forgot the name of the person, and the old man who got a mean face, and then he treated
Scrooge.
Yeah, he treated his employees badly, and then after, some nightmares, and then he changed his mind.
Yes. Yes.
What's his name again?
Scrooge. 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 The story is called The Christmas Carol, and it is by Charles Dickens. And I'm sure if you look on YouTube somewhere, you will find a video of it, because it's been made into a movie and a play. And as Locke said, it's basically the story of how a man's attitude about Christmas was changed.
Okay, at Christmas, we're talking about kids.
Kids.
So, what kind of gifts we're gonna hand over to the kids?
Well, that has changed over the years, and it changes with the age of the kids. When I was young, one of the things I always wanted was to get a book, because when I was young, books were scarce, and we just didn't have a lot of stuff. Candy, we would get candy, we would get an orange or two, we would get nuts. When I was a child, we would get clothing. Now, I think some of the Christmas gifts are things like iPhones and iPods, and I don't know, it depends on how old the children are. But the little children still get all kinds of little gifts. The other tradition many families have is to hang a stocking up somewhere in the house. And everybody gets a stocking, and inside the stocking you'd get maybe a couple of chocolate bars and an orange and little things that people would buy in a store, little toys and whatnot, depending of course on the age of the child. But it is a wonderful time for children.
Okay. And our kids, their eyes are aglow when...
Their eyes are aglow on Christmas.
Looking for,
yes.
The Santa Claus to come.
Yes. Oh, Santa Claus. Yes. Yes. Santa Claus comes out of the Christian tradition. Santa Claus came to Canada from the Netherlands, from Holland, as it's sometimes called. In Holland, or the Netherlands, they have a character called Saint Nicholas. And who Saint Nicholas is? Saint Nicholas was a bishop in the early Christian church, way back in about the year 400. And Saint Nicholas was a very godly man, a very good and kind man. And one of the things he used to do, he managed to collect money. Probably people gave him money. And he would go around to poor people's houses, and he wouldn't tell them he was going to give them money. He would just sort of stick the money in through the door or whatever, and he would try to keep secret that it was him that it was he who was giving the money. And so when the St. Nicholas tradition came to North America from the Netherlands to the United States, he came as Sinterklaas, which is Saint Claus, which is a short for Nicholas, and then Sinterklaas became Santa Claus. And Santa Claus basically lives at the North Pole, according to the new tradition. He lives at the North Pole. He has reindeer, one of whom is Rudolph, who has a red nose. Santa Claus on Christmas night, Christmas Eve, between the 24th and the 25th, Santa Claus flies to all the different houses in Canada, comes down the chimney, and leaves gifts under the Christmas tree. Now, that's the story, and I don't comment.
Yeah. You know,
And the other thing, if I can just interrupt, the other thing is that in many of the malls there will be a Santa Claus, one of Santa Claus's helpers, as he's called, but he will be a Santa Claus and he will be there, and children will get their picture taken with them.
so in terms of Christmas, yours is more about celebrating and kind of reason.
There are religious reasons, yes. Now, for many people who are not religious, the celebration of Christmas is mostly, and there are many people in Canada who are not religious. For them, Christmas is mostly a celebration of giving, of remembering that you should be kind to other people, and Santa Claus plays a pretty big part. And it's also very good for business. Businesses make some of their best sales during the Christmas season.
So you've been to Vietnam so many times, and how's Christmas in Vietnam like?
Well, for me, Christmas in Vietnam really is much quieter than it would be in Canada. I do go to the Catholic Church here in Da Nang has an English Mass, and I do go to the English Mass on Christmas Day. And then usually one of the restaurants has a Christmas meal where they try to serve approximately the same thing. There's always turkey and potatoes and whatnot. And I quite often go for that meal, and then many of us who are from the West, many of us North Americans especially, will sit together and talk and whatnot. But Christmas is obviously for us not it's not as important here in Vietnam as for example the Tet holiday. And for Canadians, for most Canadians, I would say that Christmas is as important for them as the Tet holiday is for the Vietnamese. I'd also tell you that in Australia, because in Australia Christmas comes during summer, because December 25th is the middle of summer in Australia, what they do quite often is they have a barbecue outside, and many times they go to the beach and have a picnic at the beach.
And Christmas here, it's for couples. It's
For couples.
for dating, and then at Christmas, and then couples start to date.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Last Christmas, I went to some churches. And, I saw a lot of lights, and then you
Yes.
see some decorations.
Yes.
And you see a statue of Jesus
Yes.
lying in the kind of the barn, or
in the manger.
manger.
In a manger in the barn or in the stable. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you see, what many people don't know is that Jesus' parents were very poor. And so when it was time for him to be born, there wasn't a place for him, and he had to be born in a stable. his parents didn't have money to buy the best place in the hotel.
You know what? I'm out of curiosity. You know, I want to know why. You know, some cattle are approaching. You know, the Jesus, the baby Jesus.
That is
That's weird.
yeah, that is a tradition, and basically, I suppose what the tradition is showing when you see the cows, the cattle, I've never seen a horse, but I've seen donkeys and I've seen sheep standing around the manger. I think what it is partly two things. Number one, if you're in the barn with those animals, the animals are curious. So they're going to come and look. And the other thing is that you could also say that since Jesus is human, but Jesus is also God, and since we believe that God made everything, that in a sense Jesus is a picture of God who made them. Or Jesus is the God who made them in human flesh.
So here, what are you going to celebrate this Christmas?
Where am I going to celebrate this Christmas?
Yeah.
On December the 24th at the Chicken Church, as it's called here, there is a service, a mass at, an English mass at 10 o'clock. I will go there for sure. And then after, if one of the restaurants is having a meal, I will go there. And I'm sure there will be other foreigners who will also go there for the meal. And we will probably sit around and talk. I'm a bit older,